In case you missed it, here's a Sports Animal Rewind.
So we go from taped Coach Martin to Michael Jackson to live Cuonzo Martin. Coach, Vince Ferrara, Jesse Smithey, good morning. How are you?
All right, how you doing?
You know, we try to treat our guests well, so we want to. I know that the NCAA tournament selection committee wasn't as nice to you, so we figured we'd hook you up a little bit.
Well,
so.
I appreciate that.
Hey, Cuonzo, before we get started, I know you're a big Michael Jackson fan. What's the number one Michael Jackson song for you?
A lot of people, like the Thriller song. I wasn't a big Thriller fan. I liked Human Nature.
Nice.
Human Nature is probably my best one, I think. But he had a lot of good ones, though.
I think PYT. I think PYT is the most underrated Michael Jackson song. I just want to throw that out there.
Anything else that's in that general range of Michael Jackson that still go-to music for you when you're looking to feel good, Coach? I
just put a lot of them on. He had a lot of good ones. I like the one I probably listened to it 1,000 times. The Baby Be Mine. I don't know why I like that so much, but that's a good one.
Well, Coach, before we talk about, and you addressed it at your press conference some, but before we get to the NCAA and moving on to the NIT, I want you to just speak about the two guys that were honored by the AP and then were by the SEC coaches as well, Jordan McRae and Jarnell Stokes. Jordan first team, and then Jarnell second team by the AP.
I just think it's great for those guys. It's great for our program. And those guys are two genuinely nice guys, so they'll also give the credit to their teammates for helping them, putting them in position. But it's just when you put the work in, the results following. Jarnell Stokes, he's a guy that came out with a lot of accolades out of high school. He's living up to that billing. And I think in Jordan McRae's case, a guy that's really put the work in, didn't play as a freshman, put the time in, had to get his frame stronger, and it doesn't probably look like it, but he has gotten strong. He's picked up, 8 to 10 pounds, and that's why he's able to take those hits in games. But it's just a credit to see the work that guys put in, and they get rewarded for it.
Cuonzo, I know a lot of people feel the Tennessee team got slighted, but even with some of these awards, I mean, there are a lot of people that thought Jordan McRae could win Player of the Year or Jarnell should be on first team. Seems to be a lot of motivation for you guys as individuals and as a team going into this NIT tournament.
I think so. And I thought, in Jordan McRae's case, I thought he had a really good case to win Player of the Year. But I understand the guy they voted for is a very talented player. You can't go wrong with that. But I did think in both cases, Jarnell should have been first team. In my opinion, when you average a double-double in league play, and you just come on stronger down the stretch when your teams are winning games. So I thought that one. I can understand Jordan not getting Player of the Year because the guy they gave it to is a talented player. So I can understand that. But with Jarnell not getting first team, I didn't understand that one.
Coach, Jesse and I have talked about Jordan McRae's year a lot on the show and how he has really developed this year, especially offensively. Does he have some due diligence to do in terms of taking a look at the NBA and seeing what they think about it? Is that something he would be considering after this season?
If not, I would consider it for him. Because as a coach, this is what these guys work for. Ultimately, they come to school to get a degree and be successful in life. But as a coach, you have to make phone calls, and if he's in a good position, you have to always sit down and talk about those things. Because it's what they want to be. I mean, these guys want to be successful. They want to get degrees, but ultimately, these guys want to be professional players. So it's your job as a coach to help them in that position and put them in position on the basketball court so they can shine to be successful. But then also you got to assess everything around the program and that individual, what he needs to do to be there. If he's not that issue, then what does it take to get him there? And then you got to work toward that.
Cuonzo, part of being a professional is always your mind state, coming in and night out to play, regardless of what's on the line. I know a lot of these Tennessee guys are disappointed to be in the NIT. They're going up against a Mercer team who, hasn't really been on the national radar. Could really be a case where, if you're not focused or not prepared to play in this game, it could be a first-round exit in the NIT. How much do you talk to your players about, let's prove the NCAA tournament committee wrong? If you lose to Mercer, it's going to make them look like they're correct.
Well, I think more than anything, I talk to the guys about going out and competing. That's the most important thing, because if you're in your backyard playing 5-on-5, 2-on-2, 1-on-1 in the summertime, the most important thing is to compete, okay? Rightfully so, the guys are down about getting the NCAA tournament, but also as we talked to them as coaches, we had opportunities to be in the NCAA tournament. It didn't work out, and we talked about it earlier in the season. Let's not put our faith in someone else's hands to make a decision upon it, because you can't take anything away from the teams that got in. They put the work in, they got it, and that's part of it. So now for us to move forward, let's do the things necessary to be successful as a team and continue to get better. Because this time of year, when you're able to play games and practice, you still can get better as an individual player and as a team, and that's always a good sign.
Visiting with Cuonzo Martin here on the new Sentinel Sports Page. Vince Ferrara and Jesse Smithey were out at the Wilderness Resort Sevierville Golf Club for the first annual Bobby Nichols Intercollegiate. Coach, I know you want to move forward, but now that the reality of not being in the NCAA tournament has happened, there's a lot of different things you can point to. As you mentioned, let's not put it in the committee or anyone else's hands. We can take care of our own business. You got off to the slow start. Is there anything that you as coaches have gotten together and said, maybe in self-evaluating, maybe this should have happened, maybe we could have done this, any of that kind of stuff that's been a discussion amongst the coaching staff that maybe you could have prevented this situation?
Do you mean our staff or our SEC coaching staff, or just our staff?
Yeah, your staff.
Well, I do that all the time. Wins or losing games, I always go back and assess everything. And it just, it's tough to pinpoint one thing. You give yourself a chance to win games. I don't think we were as tough physically and mentally early in the season. We got that down the stretch, winning 9 out of the last 11. And that's part of, lineup changes. And you're going through different things like that. You're trying to find a good lineup to go with, and then we eventually found a lineup that worked for us. And that's part of it. But, and I thought with the 4-guard lineup, it really helped us out. But I don't think we could have played with 4 guards early in the season because I don't think that unit was ready to play with 4 guards. But I think late in the season, getting guys some experience under their belts, then it actually worked out for us. But there are always a lot of different things you can say, man, if we'd have tried this, tried that. But our program is our program. We're not changing our program to try to be an NCAA tournament team because obviously 9 out of the last 11, you did the things necessary. Shots start to fall, and you had success.
Now, your team, in terms of the SEC, your program, you did schedule well in pre-conference. Not everyone else has done that. What can happen in order for are those institutions on their own to try to change? Do you think the SEC can encourage them in some way to schedule better so all the league members aren't hurt by the selection committee when it comes down to this?
Well, I think that's something when we get to Destin here in May that we all talk about as coaches, because the bottom line is getting multiple teams in the NCAA tournament. I just think it's unfortunate and it's embarrassment to our league to only get 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. But we have to look in the mirror first before we start pointing fingers and figure out what happened or didn't happen. I think that's the most important thing. But we got to have, because you have the caliber of talent. Then if everything works out well across the board in this league, you're talking about one of the best leagues in the country. If everything works out, you stay away from major injuries next season.
Cuonzo, why was the SEC perceived to be, quote-unquote, down this year?
Well, I think when you have new coaches coming in, and you take, for example, LSU, very similar to us last year. We got off to a slow start, and you see how they finished down the stretch because now guys were able to play with each other. You got a new coaching staff, so there's a new system. So it takes time. And in the process of it taking time, you're playing against, some mid-major teams that come in with, fourth-year and fifth-year guys that come in and beat you on your home floor. It's not that you weren't prepared, you didn't compete, but they had the experience. They've been together before. So now as you learn and you go through things, and as the season goes on, you get better and better. And I think that's the case in other shoes. I think South Carolina and Rick Ray and those guys, even though their teams competed, they were down teams. And that happens, but you still have opponents you have to play. You schedule teams you have to play against. And you come up short, but if you see down the stretch of the SEC play, but the perception on the front end was the league is down. Because when you lose those games. Now all of a sudden on the back end, where if it was down, then why do you have 9 teams in the top 100 RPI? The only other league that had more was the Big East. So that means you obviously finished strong. You did so right because once league play, we were playing against each other.
Coach, we had several people call and say, well, Tennessee could have taken care of their own business in the SEC tournament, and they didn't look like they wanted it. They didn't have the intensity of just going out and getting it. How do you respond when people say that?
I don't buy into that. You don't play well. To say you don't have intensity because you didn't make shots, I don't buy that. Because I'm watching the game, I see the energy, I see the passion, I see our guys pressing to be successful. I don't buy that one bit. But of course, once again, I don't blame any committee about what we didn't do. Because there are a lot of games we had opportunities to win, but to say the guys didn't have any intensity, I don't buy all of that.
Yeah, and you addressed this yesterday too. You could say that maybe they put too much emphasis on the conference tournaments, but then that's a defense for one, and it's not a defense for somebody else, right? That's the tough part, is the selective defenses for different schools, right?
Yeah, but I think once again, when you play in NCAA tournament games, you play 30-plus games for a reason. If it was only 4 games a tournament setting, you just play 4 games in the season, but you play it's a body of work, and you play a season worth of games, and then you judge a team on their performance overall. And at least that's the way I think it is.
What can you tell us about your opponent, Mercer, tomorrow?
Mercer's a very talented team. They finished 23-11. They had wins. They won at Alabama. They won at Florida State. They had a tough loss at Georgia. So they won their league, and they lost in their conference championship to Florida Gulf Coast. So, a talented team, one of the best defensive teams in the country as far as percentage and holding the teams, the 58 points a game. Have balanced scoring. They play about 11 guys. Good ball club.
Because I want to go back to something I asked you a little bit earlier, just about getting your guys prepared mentally for an NIT, where it used to be just kind of a, perceived to be this step-down tournament. Not a lot of people excited about it. And then you get a chance to go to Madison Square Garden, one of the more famed arenas in all of college basketball history. What's the underlying motivation for your team? What are you talking to your guys about to get them get engaged in this thing?
Well, you got to have fun out there. That's the most important thing. You can't be pressing. You got to get over the fact that you're not in the NCAA tournament team. That's in the win now. But the thing we talk about as a staff all the time, you have to play as hard as you can play and take one game at a time. 'Cause I think if you focus, okay, we're getting to New York, well, it's not guaranteed you get into New York. You got a tough Mercer team. Now your second game, if you were able to win the first one, you have to either go to BYU or Washington, and that's not an easy task. So now the most important thing is to win this game that's presented to us, and let's play and let's compete as hard as we can, and then we move forward from there.
Cuonzo, can this home game with Mercer tomorrow night, can it help you recruiting-wise? Because I know there's still some guys out there that are looking to take some visits. You got a home game. Can it help you in that regard?
Well, I think we've done a good job recruiting. We got some guys, on the hook that we've been looking at, and things are going well from that standpoint. But I think what helps you in recruiting, your successful program, you winning basketball games, you guys are graduating. It just depends on who you're looking at. But I think we've done a good job from a recruiting standpoint. We've played many big games here in this arena, and we had success.
Will you bring up, or have you brought up, last year's disappointment in the NIT?
We talk about it. One thing about our players, they talk about that amongst each other as well. We talk about it as a staff, but it's just really competing. It's not necessarily, because I don't like to bring up the past from a negative standpoint. We bring it up from a learning standpoint, guys. Here's the preparation. Here's the focus. You got to be locked in. You can't consume yourself when spring break is. You got to play a basketball game. That's the most important thing, and especially for guys that have professional aspirations. You're still playing. You're still working. Guys that are returning, you're still getting better. You got guys coming in your program, so you're still fighting for minutes, and you're playing, and you're getting better. So there's always room to grow.
Well, Coach, good luck tomorrow night. And if you have any other artists that are up there close to Michael Jackson that we can play for you in the future, we'll dial it up. We take requests on this show. So
I will. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck tomorrow night. That is Cuonzo Martin, nice enough to join us here. That's our basketball report presented by Buddy Gregg Motorhomes and RV.